Jan Bask Training. Learn and grow.
So I think this will be our fourth session, right? And today we will be majorly, focusing on the connection, visualization, then little bit data transformation we can talk about. I'll also talk about some kind of auto-generated fields we are having. Then we'll talk about what are the live connection, what are the extract connection, although we have talked a bit about it, right? And then the different kind of file formats we have available in Tableau. If the time will allow, then I'll give you a quick overview and we'll work something called as parameters. So we have already talked about how you can connect an Excel sheet, right? So if you guys remember, we were having something called as sample superstore data set, and we connected our data source to our Tableau, and then we created some kind of graphs also. Those graphs were like line chart, bar chart. We created something called as map chart. We also created something called as histogram, right? So what happens, let me show you. So this is the file that I'm using for this particular class, right? So if I'll go to data source and follow along with me, if I will go to the data source pane that I'm having, right? So here we you can see we are having a lot of data, so columns in our ordered sheet. As you can see, we are having row ID, order date, ship mode, customer ID, and many other columns are there. This is this bin underscore sales is something that we have created, right? If you click over there and select describe, it will tell you what exactly it is, right? So it says this kind of data we are having. It's a discrete dimension numerical bin, right? And it's a remote column. Okay. So you can get the details, like if you have created some kind of custom columns over there or something which comes under dimension or measure, you can get the details out of it. For remaining column, let's say if you are looking for sales, if you click on the describe option, it it will give you what was the earlier one, what's the status, and multiple other things. Means for all the columns you can get these details. For the custom column that you have created, you will get certain additional details. That's the only differences. Now what I want you to understand here is, if I'll go to any sheet, okay, so let's create another worksheet here. If I'll go to any sheet, there are multiple columns which were not the part of our data set, but still it's there. Can you guys quickly identify which are the columns which were not the part of our data set, but still those are over here? So whenever you have something map related data, right, anything related to location which consists of some kind of longitude and latitude points, Tableau will automatically generate these two columns for you. So no matter whether you are working with the state, whether you are working with city, or whatever it is, right? Tableau will be calculating all these locations based upon the longitude and latitude itself. Like if I'll drag a state over here also, you will find these two columns being used, right? So Tableau uses this to point out the locations. Make sure you have the internet connection, as it won't be working for you, right? Now, apart from these, we have something called as number of records. Very helpful column it is. So this number of record is kind of independent variable we are having. When I say independent variable, that means, let me show you. See here, let's say I'm dragging category field over here, right? And then I am dragging number of records over here. Can you see this? For the category furniture, we are having 1789 records. Office supplies 5031 record, technology 1554 records, right? So these it's basically counting the number of records we are having. Now what I am going to do is, in place of category, I'll quickly make it subcategory. Either I can remove it, add subcategory, or what I can do, I can double click on it. Once you will double click on it, or you can click on this icon and select something called as edit itself, right? Here you can write your column names also. Like here I'm writing subcategory, so it will give me the option, I'll select it, subcategory, right? So now as you can see, it's giving you this number of records is same. We have not made any change to number of records, but now it has been changed to something like it's giving you number of records for each subcategory instead of categories, right? So this number of record is kind of independent columns we are having, which will give you the details based upon the dimension you will select. If I will not add anything, right? Let's see, we are not adding anything. So it says the total number of records in this particular data set is 8374. So this number of record is just to calculate the number of rows depending upon the dimension you are selecting. Very, very important column. Now, apart from all these three, we are left with two more columns which have been auto-generated. First one is called as major names, and the second one is called as major values. What I'll do, I'll remove this also. Okay, and now I'm just selecting major names here. Okay, and then major values here. See what happened. And what I'll do, I'll go to show me and select table option from here. See what happened. So when I selected major values, it has taken all the columns, all the meaningful columns which we were having in this major section, right? As you can see, we are having discount, we are having number of records, we are having quantity, sales, profit, everything. So this major names and major values are basically, a kind of combined field we are having. Whenever you need more than 1, 2, 3 kind of dimensions, you can drag the major names and major values, and it will take all the available measures over here. Now let's say I don't want number of records. So what I'll do, I'll quickly remove this. Right. So as you can see, now we are having discount. The total discount for the sample superstore is somewhere around $1323. Profit is 239K. Quantity we have sold is 31,000, and sales we have generated is 1,905,000. Right? Or I mean, you can make it to $1.9 million. These are the features of major names and major values. Now, if I was not having something called like major values, so I had to drag discount first, then profit, then quantity, then sales, right? So it would be little time consuming things. But as we are having, a kind of this particular column, so it make our work little easier. So that's something, we have for auto-generated columns and why those are so helpful. Let's move to the next one. We have something called as live and extract connection, right? So I want you to work on this little, in detail, live and extract connection. So basically we use live connection when we need the data in real time. When we are not concerned about the real-time data, try using the extract connection. Why? Because it will be basically making the performance of your dashboard improved. So as I told you, the average, the average loading time of the dashboard is very, very less, right? It should be very, very less. Nobody is going to wait, for a minute or couple of minutes for your dashboard to get loaded. People will simply close it down. They will go back and will look for the data themselves. They won't stick to your dashboard, right? So that's the reason our dashboard should be very, very quick, very, very fast. And in those cases, these extra connections are going to help you a lot. Apart from the extra connection, we'll also talk about many other factors which might be impacting the performance of your dashboard going forward. But for now, these are the two. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to basically create an extract connection. So what I'll suggest to you, just go over there and click on extract, right? Just click on extract. So it will say extract will include all the data. That means whatever data we had, current one means the data those we are having in Excel sheet currently, those have been already extracted. Now, if you want to basically do some kind of edit option over there, click on edit, section that you are seeing here, right? This particular section that you are seeing here. This particular section is the same section, how we had the filter earlier. If you guys remember, this is exactly the same thing, how we applied the filter from this particular, options, exactly same thing. But what will happen, whatever filter earlier we applied, right? That particular filter was for the live connection. Now, if you will apply the filter from this particular location, that will be on extracted data. If it will be on your extracted data, that means, first of all, those excluded things or included things are not going to appear over here. And other thing is, whenever you will refresh this extract, understand this, whenever you will refresh this extract, because I told you, when we use extracted connection, even if you are changing the data at the back end, the same is not going to display at the front end. The same change is not going to be visible at the front end. Why? Because the connection is not live state. So what you'll have to do is you need to basically refresh it. Something called as this one, you can see, right? We will be seeing it like how we refresh our data sources. not now, but yeah, when we'll be about to close our course, so it will be basically on the Tableau server side. So we need to refresh it. So just remember, whatever currently what's happening here, currently we are excluding the south region. So currently the south region is excluded, and even though when we will refresh this extract, the south region is going to be excluded only, it's not going to include. So sometimes, you know, this is very common error that you know, developer face. Like some you might have added some filter, and your client is you know, telling you that, you know, they are not able to see the data for some particular location, or they are not going able to see the data for some particular, you know, category. Just go back, look for all the possible filters that you have applied, and see if you have done something mistake over there. There might be some reason also that one filter might be, you know, contradicting the other filter. Something like, you know, currently south is not available, right? And let's say you might have implemented some kind of filter on city also. You might have excluded Los Angeles, right? So filters might be contradicting others as well. So just make sure that you are using filters in a good manner. And filters are nothing but it's a database, you know, where condition, that's all, right? In database, let's say we are looking for only country United States, so you might be doing select a star from the table where country is United States, right? The same thing we add over here as a filter. That's the only difference. Once you apply the kind of filter you need, next is, it says number of rows, whether you want to have all the rows or incremental refresh. Any idea, guys, about incremental refresh? Okay, understand this way. So what happens, we work with large amount of data, very large amount of data. Like you might be working gigabyte, terabyte, even petabyte of data. So let's say this is your database, right? This is your database, and you are using some tool, and from that particular tool you are using this database, and from this database you are getting the data in your premise. In your premise, when I say, that means there are third party tools from where you are getting the data in your own environment, right? So when you get your data in your own environment, there are two options. First of all, you might schedule some job to get the data. Second option is, you know, or let's talk this way. When you get some data from your third party environment to your environment, right? Let's say here we are having 100K records. Very simple things, right? You are having 100K records over here. Now, let's say today you got all the 100K records here. Tomorrow, there might be some changes in the data. Now, when you will get the updated data, you are having two options here. The first option is either you can get all the data. First time you imported the data, but next time whenever you are willing to get the data, you have two options. Either you can get all the data we have, or you can get only the updated data. Are you guys getting the point? When we try to get all the data, that means what we will do, we might want to replace this entire 1000K data we had from yesterday, and we'll replace it by today. That might be one option, but definitely as we are having 100,000 records, so it will take a longer time for you. Other option is to get only the updated data. Means from that 100K, there might be chance that all the 100,000 of data might not have been changed since yesterday. There could be hardly like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 data might have changed, right? So get only the change data. Why you are looking to update the static data also? That's something we say, you know, get only the updated data. This one is called as full load, guys. Just make a note of it. The first one is called as full load, and the second one is called as or incremental load, right? So till the time you don't need all the data, make work on the incremental data itself. It will lower the, you know, time required for pulling the data. It will also, you know, improve the performances and consume the less memory you have, right? It will take lesser memory, and it's very efficient. So instead of full load, try to apply the incremental load as much as you can, as this will simply improve the performance. The same thing is happening over here, right? Whether you want the all the rows or incremental refresh, up to you what you want. Then it's giving you some more options over here, whether you want some top records, whether you want some samples. So sample is something, you know, whatever data we are having. Currently we are having somewhere around 8,000 of records, right? So we consider the entire 8,000 of records something as population data, right? Population data means entire data. You might want to get some, part of it. You might not want to get all the data we are having. You might want to get only some subset of data. Those subset of data is called as sample data, right? So usually the random samplings are being taken care of. Any idea what is a random sampling? Let's understand this way. So see what happens. I'll talk about it little later also in detail. I'll tell you, because this is not something a part of Tableau, but being a Tableau developer, or whenever you will create the report, you might need it multiple times for the analysis purpose, right? So whenever we create the sample data from the population data, we are having multiple ways to do it, right? One of the most famous ways is something called as random sampling. This is a technique using which you can get the sample data from your population data. Understand how it's happening. So let me go back to Tableau. Yeah, I'm just removing it, okay, for now. MC here. Let's say we are having these records. Understand the, this is the same record you have in your population data. Now let's say from 3 to 11 we are having a population data, and we want to select 3 records from the 8 records. So what I will do now is, in case of sample data, which is a part of probability sampling, every record will get the fair chances of selection. Means this record ID will get the same chance of selection this record ID will get, right? This will also get the same chance of selection. Something like whenever you toss a coin, the chances of getting a head and a tail are same, right? The same thing is happening over here also. Every record will get the same chance in the selection. When I say selection, the selection means whenever you are creating, something from the population to sample, you are going to get exactly the same thing, right? How random samplings are being done. So what we do, we can assign something called as row ID to each of our rows. So this will be assigned as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 records we are having. So what we'll do, we will assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows. All the rows will be assigned with a particular number. So we have assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, as we need only 3 records from the 7 records, so what I'll do, I will use any random number generator. Any random number. Either you can use the random number generator from the online tools available, or you can write your own script, random script in R, Python, or whatever it is. Okay, so that random number, random number generator will give you some numbers. Let's say that has been given the numbers like 4, 5, and 2. So these are the 3 random numbers. So now what I'll do, I will simply select those records whose row IDs have come in the selection. So we can use row number 2, we can use row number 4, and row number 5. So these 3 records will be in our sample record. These 3 records will be in our sample records. So that's something, that's how we basically, do the random sampling here. So just assign the row numbers to each rows, and then use any random number generator to generate some records for it, and then finally select those rows, as a part of your sample data set. These things will be helping you to do the analysis part. It's very, very, important. We'll be talking about other kind of sampling techniques as well. Not now, but yeah, we'll be talking about it. Now going back to edit again. So there are a few more options. Like you can see the history. History means the execution history. Basically, it will show you the extract history. It will show you. You can hide all the unused fields. If you are not using some fields, you can hide it. This will improve the performance again, right? And then you can click OK, cancel, whatever, depending upon your requirement. Can you click on any of the worksheet sheet now? So it will give you a pop-up option to save your connection. So that dot hyper, something called as this, you might be getting. This dot hyper is Tableau data extract format. This is one of the most optimized extract format we have available. Dot hyper format, right? It will be saved in your data sources. And whenever you will publish this dashboard, it will be embedded with your connection, and it will be published to the Tableau server as well. Just save it and come back. So now instead of live connection, we are working with extract connection. That's the only differences. Okay, but it helps you to improve the performance a lot. When we will publish this dashboard, we will talk about how you can schedule the refresh, because currently, even if you are making the change at the data source, the same is not going to impact on the front end, right? Front end, when we say, that means on the report, right? So you need to make a refresh, schedule. You might not be refreshing it manually all the time. So you need to make a refresh schedule, and that can be done on the Tableau server side. So you can make like, daily refresh, weekly refresh, monthly refresh, twice a day, every 2 hours, every 1 hour, every 15 minutes, whatever you want, depending upon your requirement of the new data. You can schedule those refreshes. So that's something we call as live connection and extract connection. Very helpful thing it is. Make sure to use it in a proper way. Couple of more things that I want to show you over here is, see, now when you will click on the data source, this is our data source, right? So once you will click on this and select right click, can you see this? Now it's giving you an option like use extract. So this particular data is now using the extract connection. Earlier this checkbox was not there. Also, now when you will go to this drop down called as extract, it's asking me to refresh it. Means it's giving an option to refresh the data. So this refresh will be done at the local level, guys. Okay, so this refresh will be basically the local level. Means you can refresh the data, you can append data from file, you can do the calculations, you can remove it also, you can see the history, right? Can you see this? We have done a full refresh of the data with all 9,994 records at this particular time. It's taking my local time. For you it might be different. So this way you can even look for the history of your refresh on a local system. Means on your Tableau desktop also. On the server, definitely we have the options available. Even let's say your refresh is failing, you will be getting an email notifications as well, like due to this region your refresh has been failed. But if you want to look for that in Tableau desktop, you can go ahead and select the history options. Those we have available over here. You can see few more things here. Properties, right? So this is the kind of properties we are having. Okay, so I have used a single table. For you it might be logical table, right? This is the location where we have the database, right? We don't have any extract filters, extract limit. Table is kind of extract, right? You have used hyper connection, so it's giving you the properties like how you have created all those kind of extract. So that's something we have for live and extract connection. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you some idea about the kind of file formats we have available in Tableau. What's the name of your workbook? For me it's demo, as you can see at the top of the screen. What's the name of your file? So now let me take you through the slide a bit. This is very important, guys. I mean, if you are going to attempt any kind of interviews also, this is something you are going to be asked as well. So just make a note of it. So we have different kind of file formats we have available. Although the slide says only 2, right? But we have multiple file formats. The very famous and the one that's by default is something called as TWB that you saw. Although you have not added it, but still it's saved with TWB format itself. It's called as Tableau Workbook. TWB is Tableau Workbook. If you will now let's go back to Tableau again, guys, and go to File and select Save As option. Can you do that? And click on this icon, Save As Type. You will find 2 options over here. One is Tableau Workbook, and second one is Tableau Packaged Workbook .twbx. .twb is the default file formats we have available. Default file format. If you're not going to provide anything, it will be saved in TWB format. And TWBX is Tableau Packaged Workbook. So if you will, if you are going to use TWBX, you will find the file size is little bigger compared to what we have in TWB format. The difference between TWB and TWBX is, in TWB format, your data is not saved. Means the connection, the Excel sheet connection that we have made, right? It won't be saved with your file. That's basically your TWB format. It's only the report that you have created, all the worksheets, all the visuals, right? All the icons, images, all the dashboards, storage, only those things are going to be saved. That's basically your Tableau workbook format, TWB format. Then we have something called as Tableau packaged workbook, that's TWBX. Here, including TWB, your data is also saved. Means whatever data source you are using, that will be also saved. And that's the reason, as we are saving the data here also, so you will find TWBX basically the packaged workbook. Means data size is basically huge, so it basically saved in the packaged format, kind of zipped format you can say, right? So that's basically TWBX. So When the question is when you will use TWB and when you will use TWBX. So understand guys, what happens, let's say you are working for a team, you created something and then you went on leave, or let's say you are working on a particular shift and you created something and your colleague might have to do something else. Now, as both of you are in the same team, so there are high chances that your colleague will also have the access to the data source which you are using. So you can, in that case, you can save your file in TWB format, save some space, have the things faster, and can share the TWB file with them, right? And as they are already having the access to the data source that you have used, they can start working on it. They will be able to see the data, they will be able to see the reports, everything, and they can continue working on this further. But think of a situation when you have to work with someone who don't have the access to data. In that case, if you will share the TWB file with them, they might not be able to, they won't be actually, they won't be able to see the data, they won't be able to work on it because they don't have access to the data itself, right? So in that case, sharing a packaged workbook file is preferred over sharing a workbook file. So if you are working with someone who don't have access to the data source which you are working, you need to save that in the TWBX format and share with them. So in TWB, only the visuals will be saved, no data. In TWBX, along with visuals, your data will be also saved, right? So if someone is not having any connection, any access to the data sources, you might have to share them TWBX file. Apart from TWB and TWBX, we are having some more file format. One is called as TDE file format. This is basically Tableau data extract. Tableau data extract. Here, if you want to only save the data, you can use TDE file format, Tableau data extract file format. So in TWB, you save the visuals. In TDE, you save the data. In TWBX, you save both data as well as extract. So these are the three, most important file formats we have available. Apart from these three also, we are having some more. Let me show you. So these are some of the file formats. .hyper file format, you have already seen, you have saved your data in the form of .hyper file format. That's basically your extract saving. In TDE file format, we save the initial data. We have something called a TDS also, which basically saves your data location as well as few other things. We have TDSX, we have TWB, and we have TWBX. So these are some of the important data formats we have available, file formats we have available. I want you to understand at least these two, TWB, TWBX, and these two, TDE and Hyper. So these are some of the important file formats we have available in Tableau, right? So you depending upon your requirement, you might select one, you might select two, and go ahead with it, right? So I want to talk something about parameters. Very important topic, guys. Try to understand, and you will see the the magic with the help of parameters. So parameters are independent control in Tableau, and it helps you to change the values of something in the runtime. In the runtime means at the user will be having the access to it. Basically, what I mean to say is, let's go back to Tableau and go to bin cells and edit it. So here is the bin cells dimension for me. Just right click on it and select edit. Okay, what is the bin size that you have selected here? 300. Now if I have to change this bin size to 400, what I have to do is go ahead and change this to 400. If I have to change this to 100 only, I need to go back again, edit it, and change to 100. Are you getting the point? What I am telling you? Whatever you have to do, you need to go back to bin cells, select edit, and change it. Correct? You don't want to do this manually. Currently, we are doing this manually, right? You want to provide this option to the user where user can select their own bin size. Why we should bother everything? The main purpose of reporting is everything should be automated, right? Then why we are changing this bin size manually? Currently, there might be a situation that you are having the data only in the range of 0 to 100, and a bin size of 10 might work for you. But later on, let's say the business has been expanded, and now the data range is 0 to 100,000. In that case, a bin size of 10 won't be making any sense at all, right? So you need to basically change the bin size. Now, changing the bin size manually all the time by the developer is not a feasible option. You can't do it. So in that case, what you have to do is you need to provide this option to the user where user can control the bin size. Now the question is how they can do it. So the answer is parameter. So parameter is basically an independent control in Tableau which help you to change the value in the runtime. So now let's see how we can create parameters, right? How with the help of parameter we can control the bin size. So what you have to do is just go to this option, this icon you are seeing here. This is one way. Other way is you can right click on anything, go to create and select parameter. That's one thing, but I prefer this one. Go to this icon and select create parameter. You will get a pop-up option here which tells you the name of the parameter. I'm just making it bin size. Okay, you can provide this comment, but it's optional, like why you have created it. So this parameter will control the bin size, okay, for the cells. So you can write it, but it's optional. It's up to you whether you want to write it or not. Okay. Then we have the data properties. Data properties, and then we have something called as data type. Data type means if you click on this particular drop down, it shows you multiple options. It shows you all the possible kind of data you can have. This data type is basically for the bin size, means the purpose for which you are going to use this parameter. So now guys, tell me what data type I should select for this particular requirement. Float, integer, string, boolean, date and date time. Do you think bin size can be a string? It can't be. It can't be. It can't be date time. It can't be date. It can't be boolean also. It can't. It should not be float also. I mean, it can be. We can have the bin size of 10.5. That's okay. But currently we are not having it. So what option we have left? We can have this an integer. So select it. So bin this data type is the data type of the parameter, not the columns. Understand this. Then it says you the current value. Current value is something like when the user will open this report, what is the default bin size you want them to show? That's basically the current value. I am making this 100. I want by default 100 bin size should be selected. User can change it. So I'm selecting it 100. Then it shows you display format. How you want to display it? Whether you want to make it automatic. Automatic means depending upon the column value, it will take the automatic values. You can make it numbers, currency, scientific, percentage, custom, anything you want. Prefer keeping it automatic only. Okay. Now we are having some more options over here. I'm just hiding this comment. Okay. We are having some more options here. It says all. All means whatever value you will be having in the column, all the value will be selected here. Then we have something called a list. List means you can write what value you want the user to select. Means if you want the user to select only 4 bin values like 100, 150, 200, 250 and 300, you can make this here. Okay. And then we have range. If you want the user to select some particular range, like I want the minimum value to be selected as, let's say 100, I'll show you all. Okay. For now, let's do this. Let's keep all. Okay. And click OK. You will find a new section has been created here with the name parameters, and the name of the parameters are showing you with the name bin size. So it's up to you. You want to keep them dollar sign over there, keep it. If you don't want, remove it. It's completely up to you. Also, what happens when we are working with only the US data, right? So it's by default. So instead of writing dollar every time, what we can do at the top, we can write all the data displayed here is in dollar. Are you getting the point? So you don't have to write all the time. Just at the top, you can write, the data displayed here in the United States dollar, and it's done. So you don't have to repeat this every time. Now, the parameter has been created, but are we using this parameter? No, we are not using it. So let's use it. So go back to bin cells, right click on it, select edit. And now what we will do, instead of 100, we will use this parameter. How? Can you see this drop down? Select the drop down and you will see now our parameter is showing you bin size. This is the parameter name. Select that and click OK. Now, what's the default value? Let me see the default value it has selected. Okay, default value selected is 1. Let's make this 100. Okay, yeah. So now the parameter has been selected. But Do you see any option here for the user to change the parameter value? If you want to see what user will be seeing it, you can go to the presentation mode. Do you see any option where the user can select the bin size? No. So for that, you need to allow it. How we allow? You can right click on the parameter and select show parameter control. Now user is able to say it. So now again, if you will go to the presentation mode, you will find this bin size available over there, right? So that's something like now user will be able to say it. And now let's say I am the user, I want a bin size of 1000. So what I'll do, I'll go here, put the 1000 and click OK. Can you see this? Now the bin size has been changed to 1000. If I want the bin size to be 50 only, I can select 50. Okay, can you see this? These are being changed now. That's the beauty of parameter. On the runtime, I'm able to select what value I want. Now let's go back to the parameters again and see the different options we are having. Currently, we allowed all the values. So what I'll go, I'll edit the parameter. Right click on parameter and select edit. Okay. Currently, we have selected all the values. Right. Now let's talk about list. I don't want the user to select any value. I want them to select some specific value. I want them to select either 100. So it says 100. And what do you want to display? So you can display it as 100 or something else. Completely up to you. Means I can write like bin size of 50. Okay. Now user can select 200, bin size of 200. I want the user can select 300, bin size of 300. Right. Let's make it one more, 400, bin size of 400. Right. And click OK. So now, okay, just click OK. And now, can you see this? I'm just hiding it for now. And again, I will enable it. Okay, so parameter control. Okay, can you see this now? User is getting a drop down option here where user can select only 4 options. No longer is available like they can select any random values. Either they can select a bin size of 50 or 200 and see the data being changed 300 or 400. User can't select their value depending upon their choice now. So that's basically list. You can change the format also. You can click over here and select how they want. They want something like this. There are different formats we have. Compact list means it's basically a drop down box. You can make a slider, right? So you can go like this is, can you see this? Just move the slider, right? And it will be changed automatically. Okay. So these are the format option, or you can even type in. Type in means bin size of 300. I can select now, bin size of 200 and it's changed. But it will select some value which is not in the range, like bin size of 2000. It won't be. So it will by default reset it. It won't take that value. So that's something we have called as list. Try it. Very, very helpful feature. Like you don't want the user to select any garbage value, right? Provide them the option. Don't give them the random option. We have one more last option that I want to show you over here. Go to edit again. Okay. And now we have talked about all. We have talked about list. Let's talk about range. So range is like what you want. Let's say I want the user to select minimum value as 100, maximum value as let's say 500. With the interval, by default it will be 1. I want the interval to be 100. Like first user can select 100 and then it will be incremented by 100. Click OK. And hide it again. Okay, so that the newer one will be impacted. Although it's not required, but yeah, I mean, see here. Can you see this? It's a kind of slider only. So 300 now we have. I can make it 400. I can make it 500, something like this, right? So these are the 3 options we have available when we talk about something called as bin size. That's very, very helpful feature, guys. Very, very helpful. Can you guys quickly create a histogram for the number of quantities we have sold in the different discount range, and I want to get an option for the discount as 1%, 5%, and 10% only. Means I want the user to select the discount options as 1%, 5%, and 10%. Okay, guys. So I want you to create something like this. I won't show you how I have created, but yeah, I want to create something like this. You can see, we have used discount bin, we have used quantity, and let's say like, for no discount, we are having 15,100 quantity for discount range of 0.1 is 571 and so on. Here I am having the option to select either 1%, 5% or 10%. Great, then bye.
Jan Bass Training. Learn and grow.